friends, I'd like to welcome you today to What's in Tegan's Storage Locker. It's the show that dares to ask the question, just what is in my storage locker? The answer today, friends, well, the answer is comic books. The answer is always going to be comic books. I pick up a pile of comic books that have been in a storage locker at some point, and we flip through them for your entertainment and edification. There's a little cat who has already proven to be a disruptive presence. This is not the first attempt at recording that has been made. I haven't been recording very often lately, I have to admit, and I'm sorry if you're someone who waits patiently, pines for the new episodes to appear. The simple answer is I bought this new microphone, and figuring out how to use it has been it's been a journey. Not a pleasant journey, a discouraging journey. I'm old enough that I am terrible figuring out how to get peripherals to work in 2024. I'm trying my best. Anyway, if you like this show, if you like anything I do, any of the videos or essays I put up anywhere online, check out my Patreon. I just restarted the Herding Gazette, which is my now intermittent newsletter. Go out maybe every 3 weeks or a month, that kind of thing, with, a substantial amount of work for me and links in it. So check that out on the Patreon if you like these videos at all. Underworld Unleashed. Why did this bob up to the top of the tank on this week? Well, I'll tell you. One very big reason, this was written by Mark Waid. And Mark Waid was on my mind because I picked up the new issue of his Justice League Unlimited, which looked like it could have been good. It had the ingredients, but I will not be showing back up for another one. And, who knows? Maybe it might become something in the fullness of time. First issue, wasn't doing it for me. Now, the first issue of the new Avengers West Coast, I picked up both of those, JLU and Avengers West Coast. And I said, I'm not really trying to pick up that many new books right now, so maybe I'll only come back for another one of you. And, well, Avengers West Coast, it was pretty good, but I just didn't care for Justice League Unlimited, even with Dan Mora's art. But Mark Waid has written things that I've liked in the past, even if I think he's tended to be a little bit more sporadic than some of his boosters would argue. But he's written comics I've enjoyed. He will almost certainly write again comics that I will enjoy. He's writing a Batman and Robin limited series right now with Chris Samney on art. And if only for the artist, that's definitely something I think you want to be on your radar. He's good with good artists. This is a silly crossover from 1995. Ostensibly, I don't want to say that it's not really Flash-centric, but it's written by Mark Waid, so it uses all the rogues and the Flash lore, but it uses a bunch of other stuff too. This is a big full company crossover, and I was all in on this because I like a good crossover, and this was, especially for the time, a very decent crossover. So when was this precisely? This was 1995. You're being very helpful. November. That's November 95. So that means this was coming out. Oh yeah, this was coming out in fall 95. which seemed to be a period on the upswing for DC, and it definitely was. They were going to own the mid and the late 90s, and they did. Marvel was, playing with itself in public. The company was imploding. Absolutely. And after the turn of the century, Marvel dug themselves out of that hole. And DC, I'm not going to say they fell, but it was a more gradual slide with DC. I think they got some good sales from bad stories, and it hurt them in the 2000s. But Underworld Unleashed, for a crossover, this was pretty decent. It actually had significant repercussions, because this is something you see in crossovers every now and again. A refurbishment of the villains. The plan was this new guy who's never appeared before, Neron. This is his first appearance. You've encountered him since then, probably. He's DC's Mephisto. If you have that understanding, nothing the character does is going to surprise you. But they've gotten a lot of use out of him. It's a useful type of character. He appeared in The Flash right after this, if I recall correctly. A number of villains actually come out of this with significant status quo changes that turned out to be actually very profitable long term as far as these crossovers go. So there you go. New villain character, a bunch of refurbished secondary and tertiary characters. It's a good crossover that finds ways for the books themselves to do something interesting instead of dictating. If this seems like a very fine point, there's a bit of a difference between having to be part 5 of 16 and being an Underworld Unleashed crossover that just means, Batman is fighting a new villain this month, but it ties in without being directly obligated to the plot. And that I think, is a really good model. That was the Acts of Vengeance model as well. The spine of that story was in the Avengers books. Everything else was, up to the creators themselves to figure out how to make work. And you get good results from that. 1 million as well. There were some really weird 1 million crossovers, ones that I don't think maybe really appreciated the premise as much. But there's some really fun ones too. The Garth Ennis Hitman 1 million. Possibly the best issue of the whole series. So DC was getting a fair amount of my dollar for crossovers. They were putting out good stories. I had a generous allowance, so the DC crossovers saw my patronage. What? I guess I never did. Did they want us to remember these numbers? Because I never did. And I just got upset when my pants fit differently. Okay, so we got the Rogues, like I was saying. We start off in Flash territory with the Rogues doing something, as I recall. It's a bit of sabotage. They just make big explosions across the map. Like so, millions of dollars in damage. Oh, the summer's hottest game, Dragon Dice. Well, the dice games didn't go away, but I don't think this one was. They still make so many of those Marvel dice games. It looks absolutely baffling. I pick that up and I look at it in the store. I try to understand in my brain, how would you interface with this product? I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's probably really easy. If you sit me down, I can understand it in 5 minutes, but it's not going to be an intuitive leap I'm going to make on my own. I'm sorry. Oh man, we're deep in the heart of it, man. I want to say I rented this. Maybe, I don't know. it's possible I may have rented it and played it for 45 minutes because it was terrible. You know, these beat 'em ups, Acclaim beat 'em ups. So they did the Maximum Carnage one, which I found never able to beat. My friends were never able to beat. Me and my friends together were never able to beat it. It was just a difficult game because it didn't have a save function. That's the reason. Just you didn't have a save function. You had to do it all in one sitting. All right, so yeah, they're using this fifth ink neon in the book, which is really cool. You have to admit that is kind of a cool page right there. They're getting all their souls sucked out of them because they're making deals with the devil here. Space Above and Beyond. Did this last one or two seasons? I can't remember. I don't think I ever watched it either, for that matter. You know, sometimes the more hard-ish sci-fi loses me because I guess I'm stupid. The Expanse is huge, but that's all hard sci-fi stuff, right? Oh, man. I watched Planetes recently. That was excellent. If all hard sci-fi was like Planetes, I'd read more of it, but no. There's a lot more math. So, oh yeah, Blue Devil. He got a new status quo coming out of this. I don't remember it being particularly something that... I mean, it stuck around is the thing. They make him just a real devil instead of being the stuntman in the costume that he was. You know, since his earliest appearances, this is where he gets upgraded to being a real, you know, demonic presence, and that stuck. I mean, then that was he was one of the main characters in a lot of those. Oh, what was the name of that group? I actually kind of liked it, even though Bill Willingham wrote it. But it was the book with Detective Chimp and Shining Knight. I want to say Zatanna was in it. I read the whole thing. I don't remember what it was called. But that was a fun book. And his status quo in that comes out of this. So they didn't undo it. And it's the trickster, like I say. We're going in on the POV of these rogues because, and it makes sense, because of all the characters in the DC universe, at least in the 90s, the ones who we were more likely to go first person in terms of, you know, their knowing who they were, having them be viewpoint characters. That was something that Mark Waid could do because he used them quite a bit. You know, he refurbished a whole lot of them. And that's something interesting to remember about both the William Messner Loebs and the Mike Baron. Both, oh, come on. Between the two of them, Mike Baron did a year. William Messner Loebs did like, what is that, 4-ish years? It's a lengthy run. It takes you a while to sit down and read it, but you need to sit down and read it. It is an excellent, excellent run. The Mike Baron run is pretty good too. But the William Messner Loebs run, I think, is superior. That's my heresy. I think the William Messner Loebs run is significantly superior to the Waid run. I have problems with Waid on Flash. We've looked at Waid on Flash on this channel at some point before, and I think it's really a matter of diminishing returns from a very strong start, admittedly. But this is being drawn by Howard Porter. I realize I should mention. This was a year, I think a solid year before he launched. There, right on the next page. Mark Waid, Howard Porter, and Dan Green. So there you go. That's a silver dollar creative team right there, folks. This is, I guess, the book that you could consider Howard Porter's audition piece for JLA, because, you know, there's a crossover with dozens of characters, a new location every page sometimes, just an exhausting type of book. Oh yeah, and there's people acting out. Oh, a shooting. Ugh. So yeah, basically things start going haywire. Someone, somewhere, there's a prison break, and you're thinking, oh, wait a minute. It is kind of similar to the plot of Acts of Vengeance. Yeah, it is a little bit similar to the plot of Acts of Vengeance, like just a tiny bit. But hey, it's a good gimmick. Just let all the villains loose, because here they're blowing up Belle Reve prison. They let them all loose, and they're all going to go make deals with Neron, and then they're going to go into all the heroes' books, and this is where you get the refurbished Mr. Freeze from. They brought him more or less out of obscurity, finally, after the animated series really completely rehabilitated him. This was the series that they used to bring that character more in line with the animated series version. It doesn't start with a breakout at Arkham, I think probably because they'd just done a breakout at Arkham. But if I recall correctly, the Arkham people are in here somewhere. Because, yeah, everyone. Lex Luthor makes a deal with Neron. That's the eventual ending of the Lex Luthor dying, having his brain removed, put in the clone body of his younger self that he pretends is his Australian bastard heir, and eventually that body succumbs to clone sickness because, if you've read one Spider-Man comic book, that's just the thing with clones. And it happened to Lex Luthor, and he was essentially left a vegetable dying in a tube, if I recall correctly, when Neron comes along and he's like, hey, I bet you'd like to get out of that tube, son. And of course, they never mentioned it again. I think there was Lex Luthor had a narration blurb saying, well, I don't believe in the soul, so have fun trying to spend that, bucko. Perfect Lex Luthor moment to get out of a jam like that. So they get all these. Oh yeah, they're really making good use. See, they're making good use of this, Fifth Ink, which, it's probably putting a quarter or 50 cents on the price. I don't know, but it's kind of cool. It's not something they're going to do every day. But all these characters, all these villains. Here's Cheetah, Wonder Woman villain, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Riddler, all these guys. They get these magic candles, and they function as doorways to this realm of evil where Neron is going to make them an offer. They can definitely refuse, but none of them actually do. Blockbuster, yeah, they changed his character completely. I don't think he's smart anymore, but he was smart for 10 years. He was the arch villain in the first volume of Nightwing. He was a great villain for that book. And then, of course, they undid that. So anyway, there's your guy. There's Neron. Here's all these villains. Lady Spellbinder, Psycho Pirate, Solomon Grundy, Ocean Master. I think that's Merlin, although I don't know if Merlin had been doing a lot lately at that point. The Fiddler. Oh, yeah. Catman. Pre-Secret Six Catman, so he's still kind of a gomer. Abracadabra. Lex Luthor. Seriously. Oh, yeah, he's got some inner circle of villains, just like Acts of Vengeance. Yeah. Hey, straight up, it works. It's fine. It's the Legion of Doom. With, maybe a couple people folded out. But there's Lex, there's Joker, there's Circe, who, maybe 15 years later, that'd be Cheetah. Circe's actually having a bit of a hero turn lately, and, well, at least he's not interrupting filming. Anyway, Circe's character is really prominent in the Absolute Wonder Woman book. So he's basically showing all the small fry here that he's got the big dogs on board. He's got all these guys. So, yeah, why won't you sign on that dotted line? As I recall correctly, everyone's asking. Yeah, you can tell this is a giant-sized comic book written in a month. In some places. But yeah, this is pretty nice. This is the worst thing the series does. I know I just got through saying a litany of, oh yeah, this series, it rehabilitated it, so-and-so. It also killed the first Mongol. So if you ever, reading on Wikipedia or something to try to figure out what Mongol's whole deal is, you'll reach a point where he just is killed, is murdered, straight up, in this story, because they want to show Neron as being a guy who can, definitely dish it out. He absorbs Mongol's soul, and that's why I think they had to do Mongol's daughter, and then after the New 52 and whatever they did with Rebirth, I don't know, maybe Dr. Manhattan, sweat out a Mongol, I don't know. So yeah, everyone sees that, and of course they're going to say yes. This is when Killer Moth, what is he, does he go by Helgermine or is that someone else? Why is that the name that's popping up in my brain? Yeah, so a bunch of losers get another shot. Oh, there's Deadshot. Just everyone you can imagine being in the book, so to speak. Grodd. Yeah, this is kind of a cool looking comic book. Who colored this? Yeah, if you see this in a 50-cent bin, this is kind of fun to flip through. Oh yeah, it's got some nice bits. But who colored it? Rick Taylor. Chris Eliopoulos on lettering. Heroic Age on Separations. All right, it's a nice looking book. And even some heroes end up signing on the dotted line. Blue Devil, there you go. So, and then here's your de rigueur running down all the crossovers. Major Disaster lives up to his name in Aquaman 14. Psycho Pirate invades Manhunter 12, and that's the Manhunter that came out of the 0 Hour, which it was Vince Giorano and Stephen Grant. Green Arrow. This is actually only the second issue into the oh god, what's that kid's name? After they killed Ollie. Connor Hawke, that's right. And I actually liked the last year or so of the Green Arrow book, because before they killed Ollie, they had a couple of different good artists, and one of them was Jim Aparo, so that's why I was buying the book, because Jim Aparo drew it sometimes. I got to be true to my school. And then I don't think he drew it anymore after Connor Hawke took over, so I didn't have any interest in the book. There you go. Simple as that. Shadow Thief appears in The Flash, so he gets upgraded as well. Captain Marvel appears in this, and he's a big part of this story going forward. Hawkman is still going on. This is probably during the Steve Lieber run. Still. However much Hawkman you think Steve Lieber drew, he drew more Hawkman. He really, earned his bones on that book. Rebels 95 is still going for at least a little bit. Sparks fly when Metallo scrapes against steel. Blockbuster pounds on Impulse, so yeah, Blockbuster appears there first, but then he ends up being the big bad in Nightwing going forward. The Atomic Skull and the Ray is still going at 18, I think. Christopher Priest probably writing that, if I had to guess. Azrael 10 has the Azrael Batman, who isn't in it. I don't remember that one. I don't remember what happened in that one. I don't remember really what happened in any of these. Guy Gardner Warrior is somehow still going on. Damage is up to 18. Man, Damage was terrible, and it still lasted 18 issues in 1995. Primal Force, that I don't think was too much longer for this world. Starman was going pretty good, though. This had a revamped Dr. Phosphorus, as I recall, is actually kind of creepy. Justice League of America is on 105, so it's still limping along. Like I say, Morrison is a year, 18 months away, somewhere around there. The Chill of Mr. Freeze, Nuns, Green Lantern 68, Spellbinder and Snares, Detective Comics, and she appeared a couple times. Evil Roars from the Hands of Blaze. So both Blaze and Satanus are doing something as well. This is the Fate with the want to say, was it Wagner art? I'm trying to remember. I've never come across them. Oh, they're still hawking the Demolition Man. I think that was the year before this. All right. Okay, here's one for the SEO, Jean Grey of the X-Men. The first ever Jean Grey solo ongoing series. And they didn't make a push with this one until 2017. And this is, I want to say, the teenage Jean Grey came back from the future as part of the original 5, and they stayed in the present-day Marvel Universe for like 10 years or something. 9 or 10 years. I think, like a lot of people, I definitely thought Brian Michael Bendis had a conclusion for that story. He didn't have a conclusion to that story, as it turned out. He just left those characters in the present, and they stayed in the present for a few more years. And they stayed long enough that Jean Grey, young Jean Grey, got her own solo book. And I don't think it lasted too long because, well, you know, what does? She's got a new series, Phoenix, I think it's called, and she's supposed to be fighting all the cosmic entities and bad guys and stuff like that. And that makes total sense. If you're going to have the character be that powerful, okay, then send her into space and have her fight Thor villains for a while. That's fine. That's an excellent use of the character. It is actually using a little bit more imagination than most X-Men solo series, which since time immemorial, X-Men solo series just, they get bogged down in telling side stories from the main book, and there's only so much of an audience for that. Over the long term, you're not going to create a solo franchise that way if you're just telling side stories from the main book. So you got to give your character something to do. They had to give Wolverine something else to do, and they eventually even grew out of the side story era of that book. They made him into a protagonist, more or less by force of will. Which can be played at instant speed. So yeah, this is first issue of the Jean Grey solo book, which I picked up in a sale a while ago because it's... Are you going to be a problem? I was just telling people that this comic book was drawn by the great Victor Ibanez. And if you think I'm exaggerating or employing hyperbole, no, I think Victor Ibanez is a truly, truly slept-on artist. If I could recommend one artist off the top of my head who I think really deserves a lot more attention in this space, Victor Ibanez is near the top of that list. He did a series a couple years, I think like a year and a half ago now, called Hard Eyes, that I absolutely adored. Just a complete artistic tour de force by this gentleman, and he hasn't necessarily taken off. I mean, you know, he's drawing an X-Men book in 2017, but he could be drawing Batman. He's really good. He could be, you know, raking in Batman dollars. He's, you know, that good. I've been trying to toot his horn for a while here. I wrote a long article on the Hard Eyes series for the Journal. And like I said, I picked this up in a sale because, yeah, I'll buy anything I see with Victor Ibanez's name on it. He's good. He definitely understands how to draw. This is being written by Dennis Hopeless, J. David Ramos coloring, VC's Travis Lanham lettering, David Yardine doing the cover there. That's a nice cover, but it's not Victor Ibanez. He's really good at a lot of things, first and foremost on that list, I'd say. He is great with facial expression, gesture, very diaphanous things to capture. What is this an ad for? Oh, this is a Midtown Comics ad. Okay, there you go. Too many words on that page. Okay, so here's the Wrecking Crew. Perfect. Excellent. Jean Grey versus the Wrecking Crew. That's actually probably a pretty good battle. Against one of the Wrecking Crew, yeah, but there are 4 of them. And when you are dealing with one of them, the other tries to get you from behind. So yeah, they're probably going to give teenage Jean Grey. I know, Jean Grey should just be so powerful that she can just, annihilate everyone with a thought. Oh, that's not fun. There's nothing fun about the character being so massively overpowered. So there you go. There's your rationale for why maybe seeing, I'm going to rip this comic in half with my Herculean strength. I can see the appeal of having the young X-Men around. I really thought that story was going to go somewhere. I thought that was the arc of his run, and it wasn't. It wasn't at all. He just introduced the characters and used them and left them for other people to use, which is a very old school way of doing it. But I really did expect that story to have an ending. I didn't expect Jean Grey from 1963 to still be in the Marvel Universe by 2017, considering that she came in, 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. I could easily look it up, but I'm not going to. I respect both of our times more than that. So anyway, this is a few years ago. This isn't maybe prime time where Ibanez, but you look at this. His figure work is absolutely phenomenal. I just can't say enough good things about this guy. Yeah, this is clearly earlier work. Like that Hard Eyes series, absolutely impeccable. I recommend it highly. I don't think anyone really read it. I tried to do my best, but I'm only one voice in the world, and I don't think it got a lot of attention. Please go check it out. Get it at the library. You want to visit your local library. Maybe run for your local library board. They were doing Edge of Venomverse all the way back in 2017. Available now at Toys R Us. Oh well. So yeah, the Wrecking Crew are still giving baby Jean Grey a little bit of trouble. And that's kind of fun. You have to admit. It seems what are you doing? It seems almost novel to have an X-Men character actually fighting crime. Oh my God. You mean they're going to remember that the rest of the world exists? Oh, I'm sorry. I like the X-Men. In theory, at least, I'm an X-Men fan. I just really dislike a lot of things about the X-Men. And one of them is usually, I don't care for Jean Grey. Jean Grey is everyone's wooby, everyone's waifu. Everyone loves her. She's perfect. And I guess if the alternative to that is the White Queen, a woman who I keep trying to remind people she set a horse barn on fire with the horses still in it. She did that as part of a mind game against Firestar. She is not playing with a full deck. She is not someone who you want to trust. And yet, what do people keep doing? how far did I make it? I think I made it to season 4. Why did I do that? I don't know. I honestly could not tell you. I kept wanting it to be better than it was. And it had a couple decent people. I don't mind him. He's kind of fun, even if the material is garbage. She's great. She just... man. I remember them really trying to push her, and she just didn't really have it to be pushed. She was actually kind of... If you're going to have a secondary female lead to her, she was probably the character people liked more, but... Man, I barely remember this show. You asked me why I'm in no hurry to catch up with all the Marvel stuff. It's because I did my time in the trenches. I watched like 4 years of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You can't say I didn't try. All right, so finally she starts just trying to peel their brains like grapefruit because she's sick of them throwing cars at her. Oh, but there's someone else wants to say hello. There we go. And it's the Phoenix speaking words, in case that was something that you were purist about. Oh, and I'm sorry. That's just hilarious. Is that not Thunderball? Thunderball's the guy with the ball. This is Pile Driver? I want to say Pile Driver. But he just conks Jean Grey with a bag of, looks like a yen symbol on it. So they're in Japan. They're doing a heist in Japan, I guess. And he just thwacks her. And that is actually, that's fantastic. That's great. That's great. This is a fun comic. This is a fun comic. I like the fact that it has the courage to give blessed Jean Grey a traumatic brain injury. I like it. Oh, I think I read like the first year or so of this at some point or another, because Giuseppe Camuncoli did it, and it looks good. Charles Soule, I think he did go on doing 50 issues of Vader, which is a good run. The problem is it's coming after the Kieran Gillen Vader run, which is pretty much by universal acclaim the best of the Marvel Star Wars, the second coming of Marvel Star Wars. Really generative for the Star Wars franchise. Kieran Gillen just created a whole bunch of Star Wars guys that they have in the toy aisle now. That's not something everyone can say. So yeah, the first volume of this made an impact. I don't remember really. I think he was angrier in this, if I recall correctly. So yeah, the Phoenix is coming. Definitely not okay. So Ibanez does not draw the whole series. I think he draws like half of it. I picked up a couple issues here and there. And I flipped through them on Unlimited when I did that article on Ibanez. So yeah, this is kind of challenging right here, because later on, after this issue, Rachel Summers and Hope and, Kid Omega. But these three are in the book at the same time. And I want you to think about that as an artist. Try to inhabit the artist's brain. You get a script from Dennis Hopeless, and it says 16-year-old Jean Grey, Hope Summers, and Rachel Summers sit in the room at the same time. How... I'm not going to say that it is beyond the capability of any artist who is drawing for Marvel or DC to do something like that. But it's not an easy thing to do. And Ibanez does it really well. And Yardine does it well. That's who did the cover image for this. So what else was coming out at this point? X-Men Gold. Yeah, I think I bailed out of this era very early. I wanted to like it. This was when they were in the Central Park, right? It seemed like it was totally my bag just to have the X-Men doing more superhero stuff. All I wanted. And I just wasn't, I was backing out of reading anything at the time. I don't remember this Weapon X. There have been a lot of comic books named Weapon X over the years. I haven't read many of them. They did a Generation X reboot, although it looks like the only character in common is Jubilee, because these are all, well, some of them are, what was the name of the book where Wolverine was the headmaster? Xavier Institute. Oh, I can't remember what that one was called. Some of those characters. I'm old. What did I tell you? I'm old. MarvelMastercard.com. If I'm going to get any comic book related credit card, it's going to be the Top Cow. I think it was a Top Cow Visa card in the late 90s. That's the one I'm going to go back in time and get. Oh yeah, so they're pushing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is a movie people loved and I did not. That's not Ego. That isn't Ego's character. Okay. No. All right. And now for something completely different. It's an issue of the Simpsons comics, because I was still, this is towards the end. I think I was getting ready to draw, but I'll tell you exactly why I bought this, even though I was getting ready to drop the regular Simpsons comics. And it was because sometimes, even if, the front of the book was good, that was not the problem with Bongo. They pretty much got the Simpsons formula down. They got, smart people to write the books. They were very readable. And sometime around the late 90s, I reached the point where I realized I don't maybe need to read every Simpsons story that is ever made, because if I had kept it up, maybe I could have said that. And I backed off. I was like, no, I maybe need to press the brakes there. So I would only buy Bongo for the most part when this gentleman showed up. Yes, Radioactive Man, because the Simpsons comics, the reason why I still bought it as late as I did was because it was always a flip book. It would have, 5 or 6 pages of a second feature, and it was usually a Simpsons supporting character, Radioactive Man. I think they had a few issues of Roswell, who was Bill Morrison's character, who was not related to the Simpsons. This is Radioactive Man, obviously, having a bit of a fun at Steranko's cover for, whatever issue of X-Men that is. This is originally Polaris in her green glory, but it's Radioactive Man here. So, yeah, Bill and Carrie Morrison. Bill Morrison, pencils, Steve Steer on inks, Nathan Kane, Chris Unger in supporting roles. Oh man, now I want Oreos. I don't have any Oreos. I try not to bring cookies into the house as a rule, and I suffer. Alright, so yeah, Claude Kane, he's Radioactive Man. He always has to wear a hat because he's got a lightning bolt sticking out of his head. So, Bill Morrison doing a Jim Steranko riff in the Simpsons style right here. Oh man. And here's I forget what these guys are called. Superior Squad, yeah. This is the rest of the team that he hangs out with. There's Fallout Boy, the character, not the band. I can't even remember what these other guys are named. One of them is Purple Heart. Plasmo, he's the mystic guy. Oh, they have to do a seance to talk to Radioactive Man's ghost. And like I say, it's only a few pages long, but yeah, I'll buy an issue of Simpsons comics to get 5 pages of Radioactive Man. That's how much I like Radioactive Man. So yeah, at this point, Morrison has moved on from the main Simpsons title. So this is scripted by Doug Tuber, Tim Maley, Steve Lutzinger. So that's 3 people there. Penciled by Phil Ortiz. What are you doing? They're still selling Simpsons on VHS. That's last couple years of the VHS gold mine right there. So, the absent-minded protester. So they're hanging out with hanging out at the VFW hall. Oh my goodness, and there's a man in full-blown Nazi regalia. That's dark even for the Simpsons. So we get to flashback to World War II. You get a bit of a side bit with Apu with Quickie Mart. He gets he's trying on a superhero costume so he can go do undercover work, isn't it? El Grampo strikes again. Oh boy. So he steals Bart's M.O., El Barto. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Hey, you kids, cut that out. All right. Oh, but Bart hasn't twigged to it yet. Oh, goodness. Oh, this is code approved. And Grandpa is completely flashing Selma in this panel right here. He is not wearing any underwear. My goodness, the things that they slip past the code there towards the end. So yeah, if I took the time to read it, I'm sure that it would have a pretty decent chuckle ratio. But you can't read everything. And after a while, just them, getting it down as well as they did, All right, I see you can do it. I'm not necessarily going to show up in perpetuity for it, since the show is still on the air. Like, Bongo Comics lasted like 25 years, and it has been defunct for a while. It is about time for them to have a Bongo revival, and The Simpsons is still on the air. Alright, so here's an ad for next issue. Oh, goodness. Here's Phil Hartman, 1948, 1998. Oh, jeez. Man. News radio. That cast. What was going on the set of that show? That casting director? The casting director for news radio has to be counted among the foremost chaos agents of the 21st century. That was fun. Small Soldiers. It was basically kind of like a Gremlins riff, but I think it had some of the same people doing it, so. I don't remember this at all. Hopster's Tracks, a new series from Zongo. Yeah, Zongo was who they put out when they decided they wanted to actually put out some decent comics. Matt Groening put out a pile of Gary Panter comics, and I want to say Mary Fleener as well, and apparently Stephanie Gladden as well. Although this looks like a bit more normcore than the Gary Panter series. Mega Monster Roll. So it's fruit by the foot. You're just selling me fruit by the foot by another name. All right, we got a couple more minutes here, so let's just make our eyeballs bleed a little bit with Event Comics from May of 1990. Oh, that's a 6 up there. May of 1996. That font isn't getting read very easily. I'm sorry. Ash 0, and there's a little bit of foil on the logo, but only just a little bit. So this is Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti's flagship character here. He's a firefighter. He does, I don't know. I'm not going to even pretend to tell you what Ash does. I got this for 50 cents in a box a while back because I think it's a Joe Quesada book that I hadn't seen, and his work is interesting to look at, even if as a creator, he's always rather left me cold on his own material. But certainly, did Ash have a following? I don't even know. Honestly, I have no clue at this point. Was Ash popular? Was Ash just something that appeared on stands periodically? Look at this computer lettering here. This is certainly a font. So yes, Ash is a firefighter. That's the only thing I know about him. And oh, it's a nuclear winter, Sub-Zero nuclear winter. All right, I thought this was about a firefighter. All right, okay. Well, it's a 0 issue, so maybe this is deep lore of the Ash universe. Looks like there is prose, yes. So the Ash powers are from space. There's an alien dude. What? There's just so much going on here. I guess if I read the words, I might understand it. But this comic looks bonkers. Here's one for you to track down. Ash 0. This is a bonkers looking comic. I don't necessarily mean that in a good way. I just mean that in a certain kind of way. Because it's trying to be state of the art in 1995. So it looks pretty good. Joe Quesada knew how to draw a comic book that looked like $1 million at the time. He had some heat. What are the credits here? Are you just going to give us the credits at some point? Or? Did I miss the credits? Oh well. Anyway, this is Joe Quesada's penciling, at least. Oh, there's a firefighter. There you go. There's a firefighter. And of course, when they started up Marvel Knights, Ash got put in a box, and I don't know if he's been taken out since in any capacity. I don't know off the top of my head. I know that Painkiller Jane has appeared periodically. She even had a TV show, if I recall correctly, or a movie at least. But Ash, to say nothing of Kid Fluffy and Death. Or is it Kid Death and Fluffy? I can't remember. So yeah, there's a baby in the fire. There's just a baby stuck in the middle of the burning house. Okay, there you go. Oh, so we got different... Oh, okay. Split story here. There's the hero fireman. And here's this weird dude in a purple bodysuit. That is a base right there. Yeah, this is something else. I don't know if do I want to read? Do I want to put myself through reading these captions? if I were to read this on the TikTok, I would have to actually read the word balloons. And I don't know if I'm brave enough. Here are the credits, finally. Joe Quesada, pencils and story. Jimmy Palmiotti, inks and story. That's cool. It looks cool. I don't know if I want to read it under any circumstances. Richard Starkings and Comicraft lettering. Comicraft's John Goschel. I don't know, maybe you need to take that font back to the woodshed. Ruben Rude colors, comic color separations. So this is state of the art as far as computer coloring is concerned for the period. And like I say, it's not a bad looking comic book, especially for 1995. This is a very nice looking comic book. It looks absolutely bonkers. Maybe this tells you all that you need to know about Ash. Guest pinups. Crisscross. Seemed like he never really broke out the way he could have. Peter David was still pushing him in the early 2000s for the Captain Marvel book. Oh, this is J.H. Williams III with Palmiotti. There you go. If you're a J.H. Williams III completist. And here is a Rick Leonardi piece as well. Rick Leonardi and Palmiotti did a fair amount of work together over the years. And what was the last one here? Oh, Jim Kelly 4. He did Aquaman for a couple of years. And some what ifs. Future Ash. Oh, so that's Future Ash. All right, well, thank you for telling me, at least on the way out the door. Yeah, that's the bitch of it. Joe Quesada is not a man without talent. I actually think he's an artist of no small talent. The problem is he also turned out to be a businessman of no small talent. And we've seen many times comics creators who also are good at business, like, say Jim Lee, for instance. He finds himself drawn away from the drawing board. Joe Quesada, there you go. Todd McFarlane, Patient Zero. All right. If you like this show, if you like anything I do, please check out the Patreon. Got tons of stuff up there for you to download, including, if you just sign up for the free tier, you get a free newsletter periodically from me to you with all my stuff in it. Tons of stuff in it. What else? Daily comic. Oh, that's right. I switched. I realized after 700 daily comic book reviews, I could maybe do every other day, and no one would really be mad at me. And it seems to be working out well. I'm sleeping better. I still enjoy doing them. I'm not planning on stopping anytime soon, but cutting down the velocity of the program was necessary in hindsight. I think I'm still putting as much enthusiasm into them, so hopefully you enjoy them. What else? Got a podcast with Claire Napier. It's called Udder Madness. We're in a bit of a lull right now. I think we're going to be coming back at some point here soon. We have tons of conversations for you to listen to, available on Patreon, on Spotify, on all the places that you listen to podcasts, I think. I don't know. We may not be on all of them. We're on many of them. Listen to us. We're fun. We're fun people. My work continues to appear at the Comics Journal. About a month ago, I had a piece up about Maria Yove. Definitely worth tracking down if you haven't read it yet. And sometime in the next little bit here, I should have a brand new piece going up about Oliver Schrauen. He's got pretty much the book of the season, and I have some words about it at some point in the near future. I can tell you about it because it's turned in. It's done. It's finished. It's in the realm of completion. And hopefully you'll enjoy it when it reaches you. All right, so please, have a wonderful day. Be kind to yourself and to the world. Do well and be well. And I'll check you out later.